What's up, guys? Welcome to a new day. I'm Stephanie Ryder, and this is the 365 Shares podcast. It's February 21st, 2024, and today's topic is gentleness. Before the word gentleness is the word solution in the Strengthening My Recovery book. And for anyone who's not familiar with the Adult Children of Alcoholics program, we have a few lists that we usually read at the beginning of each meeting. One is the laundry list or the list of traits of an adult child. Another is the problem. And then we have the solution. And for today, the solution from the Big Red Book that we're going to focus on is we learn to reparent ourselves with gentleness, humor, love, and respect. This page in the Strengthening My Recovery book talks about our critical inner parent voice and how it may be difficult to be kind to ourselves if the way we grew up, we didn't hear a lot of positive affirmations. If we heard, you're stupid, you're too slow, you're nothing like your siblings, you'll never live up to my dreams for you, then we're going to hear those voices as we continue into adulthood. Anything we have internalized that's negative sticks in our brain much easier than the things that are positive. But this passage also says that if we can learn to recognize that what we're hearing in our head, what we're telling ourselves, is actually our critical inner voice, we can recognize it and try to stop it and try to course correct and add a positive message instead. So if we hear ourselves saying, you're a failure, you're never going to get this right, we can say something instead like, you're doing your best, you can't do anything better than your best, and all you have to do is your best, and you're doing that. Let's just be proud of ourselves for doing our best. We can say things like, it's about progress, not perfection, which I've heard a lot in yoga. I've also heard in ACA and other recovery programs. And the book also suggests that we talk directly to our inner child, who we may be criticizing, and say, why don't we sit down and have a cup of tea and you can tell me what's wrong? And really opening a dialogue with your inner child, or any parts that you have, if you're familiar with internal family systems therapy, any parts that you may have that are struggling, you can sit down and have a dialogue with them. It's not crazy. You can talk to yourself. Ask your different parts what's going on. Check in with them and find out how they're feeling. And the more you do that, the easier it will get to counteract that critical negative voice and start replacing it with a positive one. I'm Steph, and this is my share. The affirmation from the Strengthening My Recovery book says, on this day, I will treat my inner child and myself to 20 minutes alone over a fresh cup of tea or a glass of juice so we can just listen to each other. Yesterday, I had a very anxious day, so I'm recording 2 podcast episodes today, the one for February 20th and the one for today, February 21st. I felt like some of the anxiety was hormonal, some of it was situational, and some of it was related to past trauma. I just found myself in a really negative loop. I was worried about work. I was worried about the outcome of something I'm working on with my partner, and my mind just kept going back to negative things that have happened in the past, jobs that haven't gone the way that I wanted to, other situations that I tried and started and failed, or that just never materialized or fizzled out. And I am a very positive person typically when I'm talking to other people. I always try to tell them, just because something bad has happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen that way in the future. And I try to obviously honor how people are feeling and listen to what they're saying, but then remind them to bring it back to positivity and remind them that we create the doors of the future that we can walk through. And so if we're ruminating and we're focusing on a negative outcome, then we're more likely to move toward that negative outcome, and we don't want that. But it's much harder when I'm in my own loop to get myself out of it, even if I consciously know that my fears are just based in the past, are based in historical events, in trauma, and they're not really based on reality. Even if I can consciously tell myself the list of things that are different about this situation than the situations that happened in the past that didn't go well, it's still hard to believe that good things are coming for me in the future. And I have a great friend who's a psychic who does tarot readings. And he told me one time, it feels like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're so ready for the worst possible outcome. And the worst outcome really isn't coming for you in this situation. This situation is whatever you make of it. Part of what he was talking about at that time was a romantic relationship. And the romantic relationship continued for a long time. And I think in the moment, I was really worried about it ending imminently. It did end up ending eventually, but it ended because I got to a place where it just wasn't serving me anymore. So the fear that I had early on in the relationship that I wanted to cling to it and that it would end before I was ready for it to end just really never materialized. So I think it's important to remind ourselves that yes, sometimes bad things happen, and a lot of bad things have happened to us in the past, but good things have also happened to us. Even someone with the hardest life has had some good things come their way. And just because the past was hard, it doesn't mean that every moment of our future has to be hard. Some people start out life with things going really easy for them, and maybe those things continue to go easily. But then at some point in everyone's life, we hit stumbling blocks, things get harder. COVID was a big wake up call for a lot of people who maybe hadn't been thinking about their mental health, that the world was a fragile place and that anyone could be affected by trauma and by chaos. But I think that for me and my partner, whose lives started out pretty chaotically, I honestly feel like we're on a positive trajectory. I think that we front loaded a lot of our pain, our abandonment, our grief, our dysfunctional family systems, and we are both making a conscious effort to heal and to move forward. So I need to really remind myself that good things can keep happening, that not only do I have the power to make good things happen, but I also have the power to let things go and just let the universe bring good things to me. The second one is harder to do, especially when you're a codependent, when you're in recovery, because we love control. We love feeling like we're in control, but really it's just an illusion. And so I always try to remind myself just to do less, just to be observant, stay calm, be faithful. So, coming out of a day of anxiety yesterday and today, a little better, but still a little bit anxious, I'm just reminding myself to be faithful, to communicate with my higher power, to trust in the universe. And I'm going to do what the affirmation suggested and just try to sit with my inner child and have a conversation and just really let her voice her fears and have me affirm her fears and listen to her and tell her that all of her fears are valid. And then I want to have a conversation with her to say, what if things go better this time? What if there's just even a 1% chance that there's a great outcome? Not only a good outcome, but a great outcome. What if everything you've ever wanted will come to you, not exactly when you want it, but eventually, and that it's all on the docket and that it's all coming our way? And I think that if we have that conversation, starting out with the fears, talking through the possibilities, allowing for some faith and for some good things and some surprises to come our way, I think I will start to feel better. So I'm going to try to do that. Just took a deep breath, and I'm going to see what tomorrow brings.